this year, the chosen topic is from invitation to deportation, 70 years of the Windrush generation. It is not only topical, current, and relevant, but it is also one which strikes at the nerve center of the political economy of Barbados. For it crisscrosses the myriad disciplines of economics, sociology, politics, psychology, and music, as well as it weaves an ongoing thread of social care and emotional well-being. Migration is one of the areas of studies which occupies a variety of theories. Everett Lee's theory divides the factors that determine the decision to migrate and the process of migration into 4 categories. Firstly, factors associated with the area of origin. Secondly, with the area of destination. Thirdly, intervening obstacles. And the 4th category is one of personal factors. On the other hand, O.D. Duncan, looking specifically at foreign populations, focuses on economic and technical causes, social causes, personal causes, and what he calls other causes, such as labor problems, strikes, riots, and increase in real wealth, and things of that kind. Now, there are a lot of other theories, but I wouldn't go into them, and the reason I wouldn't is not only because this is just an introduction, and a small introduction here, but also I don't remember them. I did a lot of study of migration as a student, but that has been a long time past, so I remember these 2, and I can assure you that there are many others which I wouldn't dare to try to remember now. But one area which has also and always been prevalent and common to virtually every migratory effort has been that of the migrants' remittances. And many studies have focused on the obvious positive impacts on human capital formation, investments, poverty alleviation, and macroeconomic stability. However, some issues related to remittances generally remain part of the debate within what I call the fair and frank study of the political economy on that subject. Hence, there is a contested debate which still exists on the effect of remittances on growth, on inequality, on exchange rates, and indeed on inflation. However, I suggest that good discussion provides more than adequate results and also portends benefits for the future. And such discussion, no doubt, will result from within this lecture series, as the lecturers and the lecturers are all tried and tested in their own fields. Hence, even though neither the theoretical underpinnings of migration, as I indicated earlier, nor the effects of migrant remittances occupy a lecture space of its own, I am, however, very confident that the wide compass of the lectures, including the first lecture which is to be given, will guide us to those areas of theory and remittances, and it will guide us, the lecture series, with discussion and with delight. Ladies and gentlemen, I therefore welcome you to the series, and if I may, I declare it open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And now I'd like to give the floor to the chairperson of our Publications and Public Education Programming Committee, Dr. Henderson Carter.
President Sir Trevor, Director, Alessandra Cummins, museum staff, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good morning. Why should Barbadians come to the lecture series? I want to make a few points about the importance of this series and why we should fill this place over the next 2 months or so. First of all, our lecturers and speakers are well researched and informed. Professor Mary Chamberlain has written several texts on migration. Professor Alan Cobley has been working on comparative history for over 20 years. Dr. Marcia Burrows has been working on a migration project, she and Kenneth Walters, for over 10 years, and they are about to bring out a new text later in the year. And I'm sure that the public will benefit from their years of research, years of mining data, years of interviewing migrants. And the panelists are very well informed. We have people like Professor Evelyn O'Callaghan, Dean of the Faculty of Humanities, UWI, Professor Pedro Welch, Mr. Ruben Rollock, who's a returning migrant, also Mr. Winston Stafford. We also Dr. Elizabeth Watson, Claude Graham, Alison Thompson, and Lisa Hayward, who are specialists in their own right, having done work on migration through film, documentaries, etc. So the speakers, the lecturers are well informed, well researched. Actually, my lecture is the first, and I'm entering the migration field for the first time. For the first time, I am pursuing migration, even though I dealt with migration in another area as resistance. I will deal with it as economic betterment in the lecture series. The second reason why people ought to come and fill this place is that the program is varied. We have sought, as we met with our committee last year and early this year, to present a varied program. So we have a combination of lectures, panel discussions, and film. And I'm sure that the public would want to come out and to imbibe in what we have to offer. Thirdly, the theme, from invitation to deportation, 70 years of the Windrush generation, is both current and relevant. Current because of the Windrush scandal of 2018. Relevant because there's now much discussion concerning the economic importance of Barbadians in the diaspora. Also relevant because of the current debate regarding the movement of people in the region. And I'm sure that Barbadians, when they come, will ask all sorts of questions about that free movement. Fourthly, the lecture series offers public education to all Barbadians. To the CXC student taking history, Caribbean studies, and sociology, the lecture series is a must, with exams just around the corner and questions usually coming on migration. For the returning migrants, the lecture series can help them to share and to reminisce about their experiences. And I've been already in contact with some of them, and they're very excited to bring their group here to the Wall Garden. And to the public at large, nearly every Barbadian has been touched in some way by migration. Either Panama migration, or UK Barbados migration, or Barbados UK migration, or Barbados Canadian migration, US migration, even Cuban migration. Nearly every Barbadian. I don't know a Barbadian family that has not been touched or has not benefited from the pounds and the parcels that came as a result of this British migration. And the public can increase their knowledge of the past to help them to understand the present and issues regarding movement of people, not only here, but in Europe, in America. I believe that this series will help Barbadians to understand what is happening with migrants and what is happening in terms of people pushing back in the United States and other places against migration. I wish to thank the Publications Committee for their full support, and several of them are here, for their full support in helping us to iron out this program to make sure that we do a successful series. I want to conclude by saying that we have an early start this time, 6 o'clock, and that is important. You can come out when it is daylight, and those of you who do not like driving during the night, you can still get back home early by 8 o'clock or so, and come out early, and you'll get back home early. And secondly, I welcome everybody to a cozy venue. I mean, I like this venue because of its coziness. You know, sometimes the Queen's Park Steel Shed could be big and it could be cold, but this venue is cozy, is a lovely venue, and I am looking forward to a packed venue during the weeks to come. So I say to you, spread the word and come and enjoy public education at its best. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, for giving that really succinct and clear synopsis of the lecture series, and for introducing a number of the speakers who will be presenting their research and information. And because it's not just book research, it's very much based on oral testimonies and interviews with a number of those who were bound up and caught up in the whole experience of this particular Windrush generation of migration. And now the floor is open to the media should there be any questions about it. You see the panel listed, and you see the dates shown, and the chair has indicated the start time of 6 p.m. for each of them. Are there any questions? Yes, Mr. Bourne.
Dr. Carter actually mentioned something that I thought would have been fairly. How come, because I was looking at the topics, how come there's no speech that looked at the parallel or the connections between, say, Panama and Windrush migrations?
I will deal with that.
Okay.
In the first lecture.
Okay.
Second, context.
All right. And another aspect that I'm wondering is, do any of you believe that the whole program can be used as a means of convincing England, who despite their busy dealing with Brexit, of a modern reparation for the Windrush generation in the fact that some of those people that were taken from England who spent their entire lives there, they think of themselves more British than Caribbean. I can think of, there was a case in Barbados and there was a case in Jamaica where the people, when they were deported back here, they shortly afterwards they died.
Mm.
So can there be a context for modern reparation for this Windrush scam using this series?
Okay. I think we have not planned it quite that way. We have seen it as one of the responses to a particular moment of historical acknowledgement. I think for us, for this committee, it's very much a case of recognizing this huge lacuna that we've had in the area of modern and contemporary Barbadian history, in the same way that we did with the Panama migration, that there is not enough knowledge at the local level to understand, to comprehend exactly what took place. What we understand are our personal experiences or our family experiences. And really there has not been a good opportunity to really see it in its wider context. I think that last year's events clearly pointed out why we have a responsibility to know and why we have a responsibility also to broaden the area of knowledge amongst Barbadians, because there was clearly little understanding in the current generation in government as to the circumstances of this migration. We also understood that there was not sufficient knowledge even amongst Barbadians and other Caribbean families themselves as to their rights and their responsibilities coming out of the experience of this particular migration. But the third point really is to recognize that, as Dr. Carter has pointed out already, the University of the West Indies has been engaged in this area of research for several decades and has been producing through supporting Professor Chamberlain's research, and then subsequently the research that's being carried out by Marcia Burroughs, Kenneth Walters, and others, that there is this need to interrogate this particular issue and to understand it fully, and to recognize that perhaps there is a part to be played, certainly in terms of, if you want to look at it in terms of social or emotional reparations, I certainly think that is allowable and true. But first, we need to understand what the bases were, and that hasn't really been clearly understood. So this we regard as an important contribution to the development of that knowledge. Any other questions? None? Okay. Henderson, is there anything further you'd like to say or raise?
Well, just in response to the question, just to say that public education is the basis.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, just to say that this is an attempt at public education. And sometimes we do not appreciate the value of public education, especially the value of historical education. And this helps the public to understand themselves, to understand the Barbadian people, to understand the issues regarding migration. It is from that basis that any agitation can be made by any other group who wants to pick up that mantle. But the task of this publications committee is not really to agitate for reparations, just to educate the public. And I think that is important. Any reparations must be grounded on education, okay? Because reparations come through a groundswell of support. So we are seeking to educate the public And if somebody wishes to pursue that course of action, they're free to do that. But our task is mainly to educate.
If there are no other questions, okay, I'd like to bring the proceedings to a close and to first, before we go, to acknowledge the support of Environ Limited to the lecture series. And the University of the West Indies at Cave Hill, even though they will be contributing their intellectual knowledge, will also be contributing in a number of areas, so we want to acknowledge that, as well as recognizing the staff and the Council of the Barbados Museum and Historical Society. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll bring the proceedings to a close and invite you to share the whole refreshment with us over at the site. So thank you for your attendance. Yeah.
Ian, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. And you?